Hello people, and welcome to Crypto Exposed. Okay guys, got a post here from Hedera. So they say, congratulations to Hedera Council member BitGo on this milestone. Hello future. So what are we talking about here? I'm sure you guys have heard the news. BitGo officially got the license to become a bank. Absolutely incredible stuff guys. So I'm going to go through a post that Mike Belch has written here, and then I'm just going to give you my thoughts after this. So Mike Belch, he says, it is an exciting time for us at BitGo, but even more exciting are the broader implications for America. Today's news marks an official end to the war on crypto and the beginning of the next era of innovation in banking. We've entered the era of regulatory integration, and improvements will continue to happen fast. 1. The upgrade, solvency by design. We are introducing a new banking model built specifically for the speed of the digital age. BitGo is now a federal national bank, but unlike traditional banks, we always hold 100% reserves. That means we don't lend out clients' assets, we secure them. We create a fortress that eliminates the risk of a bank run. A new fiduciary standard. For too long, the narrative was that crypto was the, quote, Wild West, unquote. That is over. At BitGo, we have long believed that every digital asset investor deserves a fiduciary overseeing their account, just like in traditional finance and banking. Assets held with BitGo aren't just, quote, stored, unquote. They are legally segregated, bankruptcy remote, and protected by federal law. We are raising the bar for consumer protection. 3. The green light for capital. Regulators are responsibly bringing digital asset companies into the financial system to unlock new assets, new markets, and 24/7 global payments. The infrastructure we've built, combined with federal acceptance, enables even the most conservative funds to confidently engage in the asset class. This is a massive win for American competitiveness. We are proving that safety and innovation can grow together to delight clients and monetize our financial system. Let's build. Wow. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I've literally read that fresh, like right now, like as I'm reading it to you. That's the first time I've read it. As I'm actually reading this is absolutely incredible. Like, I'm actually really shocked with some of the things that they're saying here. So I'm going to go through some of these things and tell you why this is such a big deal. Okay. So the first thing I want to get into is the thing that they said about not lending out client assets. So there's a thing in the traditional banking system called fractionalized banking, right? And with fractionalized banking, what you've got to understand what that is, it's a thing where banks are allowed to have basically just a fraction of how much money they claim to hold of people's money. So let's just say, for argument's sake, let's say banks just hold like $1 billion of people's money in total, and that's so like all of their customers having their accounts with their like salaries in, their savings and stuff like that. Let's just say equate it to $1 billion, right? I'm just saying that hypothetically. The bank doesn't actually have to hold $1 billion in cash, like readily available money for their customers. So if, let's just say, every customer was to turn around and say, hey, we don't want to bank with you guys no more, or, you know, we're not so confident in these old banks anymore, we want to move on. The banks would collapse. Like, they wouldn't be able to pay everybody out because they literally wouldn't have the money. So when they're giving out like mortgages and things like that, they're doing it with other customers' money. So for example, if I have, let's just say, £10,000 in the bank, right? What they do with that money is they actually use that money that's in my account to lend out to other people. So there could be someone who wants a loan for like £5,000 or dollars, whatever, right? And they could say, yeah, that's fine, we've got that. And they could use the money in my account to help fund that person's loan. And this is why banks are so successful, because they're basically utilizing our money that's in their accounts to make money for themselves. And so this is why you'll probably know that if you was to go into a bank and say, hey, I want to like withdraw a large sum of money. So let's say you wanted to withdraw like £10,000 or dollars, whatever. The bank starts to ask questions like, oh, you know, why are you doing this? What's wrong? And stuff like that. And he's like, you know, well, it's my money. Like, even if I just want to withdraw it, why are you asking me questions? It's my money. I'm entitled to take my money. But part of this is because if everybody was to do this, it would actually have a huge impact on the banks. Like, and this is what a bank run is. A bank run is like if like a numerous people were to start coming and saying, we're taking our money elsewhere, we're all coming out, the banks wouldn't be able to give everybody their money, right? So this is where the problem comes in. And this is why I said to you guys before, the banks are not going to go anywhere because they're too big. They're too big to fail. It would just absolutely destroy people if that was to happen. But the fact that they're saying here that they're not going to be doing that kind of thing, like they will actually have the 100% backing of like people's money, that is absolutely huge, because that's not what you have in the traditional banking system. So for people who understand how the banking system works, the current banking system, they're going to like the sound of that, because what that means is their money is their money. Like, they're not going to have to worry about their money's not going to be there. It's being backed, it's being watched by regulatory authorities to make sure that they're doing everything by the book. That is absolutely incredible, because the standard traditional banks don't do that. That's just not something that they do. So that in itself is an absolutely huge thing. That is absolutely massive. The next thing, talking about the money being, actually segregated, like legally segregated, protected by federal law. So this is where now, like, people with crypto, if they want to start getting involved with protecting it via a bank, they've got the protections that the banks give. It's giving you that legal protection now. This is absolutely incredible. Look, so BitGo are a council member of Hedera. So I'm not going to 100% say that this automatically means by default that they will use Hedera, but wouldn't it make sense to, right? They're a council member. They're going to have used the technology, tested the technology. So if they are going to be using, crypto, blockchain / hashgraph technology, would it make sense to build on Hedera? I would say so. So for me, I'm assuming, for example, here it's talking about cross-border payments now, being able to make money like 24/7 global payments. That would be, in my opinion, them using Hedera for stablecoin settlements. That's what I would assume it is. So yeah, like, this could be absolutely massive. It could. And I'll tell you this now, like, yes, crypto is still very small, but if this is the kind of standard that the crypto banks are going to be held to, it's a much higher standard than the traditional banks. And so, look, I'm not saying that everyone's just going to go over to crypto banks, but I've said this before. This is why I've said crypto is a threat to the banking system. This is like services that the traditional banks can't keep up with. Well, not that they can't, but they just won't, right? Because like, this is how they make their money. So like, if they were to stop doing like fractionalized ownership, it's going to put them in a real bad way. It's going to put them in a real bad way, because that would mean a lot of the money that they borrow out, mortgages, etc., they won't be able to do anymore. Simple as that. So for them, I think, it would hugely impact their bottom line. But, this is where we are. Like, and don't get me wrong, it is difficult to try and get your money out of a bank, but I believe it is possible. Like, I think at the end of the day, they can't completely stop you. So unless they're putting new rules in place to try and protect these traditional banks, I think they're going to have a lot of competition on their hands. And this is the other thing as well. If these banks are going to start doing like, yields and things like that, like for example, like savings accounts, if they're offering like way better rates, like if they're saying, hey, hold this USDC stablecoin with us and we'll give you like 5%. These banks are giving you like 0.23%, like something stupid like that. Like, people are going to flock to that. So this is why I say, like, this hasn't got to be a thing where you're necessarily like a crypto fan. It could be just that you're following where the best reward for your money is. People might be like, oh, well, I'm not really into crypto, but if I can get 5%, of my savings, I can get 5% interest, and yeah, I'll go there. Like, that's where the money is, so that's where I'm going. So this is the kind of thing that could attract a lot of people. And if they're doing some of these services on the hashgraph, on those rails, on that network, yeah, that's going to be something special for Hedera. It really is. I'm really impressed with this. I am not going to lie. Like, and I've done a video already about Ripple doing it on the XRP side, but I didn't understand that this was some of the stuff that they're being held to account of. So this is way more impressive than I originally thought. Like, I thought it was massive anyway, but reading some of the stuff that they're going to be doing here, the way they're making sure that, if like there was any kind of bankruptcy, that the funds are separated. So again, you've not got to worry that if the banks was to fail for whatever reason, you've not got to feel that your assets are going to be lost or anything like that. Like that kind of stuff, that kind of reassurance is massive. And they're going to be under, the scrutiny of these huge banking regulators. So it's not like this is a thing where they can just play the games however they want to play it and do cheap tactics. No, they're going to be watched now properly. Like, they're going to be held to the account of a real bank. And don't get me wrong, banks do get sometimes like slaps on the wrist and stuff like that, but they're the new kids on the block. So I do believe that they're going to watch them a lot harder, and they'll be a lot harsher with those guys as well. I think they're going to have to prove a lot more than what the traditional banking systems would. So I really do think they'll be held to a higher account. There's a lot more at stake for them, in my opinion. So, like, I don't have any worry in the sense of, are they just going to, rug pull us, or is it just going to be a thing where it just collapses and then you lose your money? No, like, from what they're saying here, going by what they're saying, the risks are too high for them to do that. These are the things that they've got to follow. And to me, I think this is what they want. Like, they're happy to do it. Otherwise, why would they apply for the license in the first place? Right? Crypto's going places, man. Crypto is going places. And I'm just so happy to see this kind of stuff because, like, I've always believed in the future of crypto technology and HBAR being one of them. But when you see these kind of things now where you're seeing like the new level of the banking system coming through, the new financial sector and integration, it's just surreal, but it's very exciting to see. So, as I say, I can't guarantee that this is going to all be done with Hedera, but I think that's the logical choice because they are council members of Hedera. So I think it would be the most logical option. Again, BitGo are not a company who have built their own blockchain or anything like that. So I think the most logical option would be to go with Hedera. That would be absolutely huge. It's going to be massive. And this is the future. Like, we're here, guys. And this is why I say, I know the price action and stuff right now, it might not look great, but look at what's going on. Like, this is all you've got to see. Like, what's actually happening right now. The value is going to come at some point because this kind of stuff that's going on here with some of these cryptos, it can't be denied. Like, you're literally watching huge adoption in the real world now and in these industries, these sectors. So yeah, this is very, very big, way bigger than I even thought. And I already thought it was big, but when I'm looking at the levels of scrutiny that they're being held to account of, I can just see that like they're going to have to be very careful, which I think they will be. That's what they want, as I said. But that is what's going to create a lot of trust. So they're going to be very competitive to a point of what the traditional banks, I don't think they'll be able to compete with this because their business is based on being able to use customers' money. Like, that's how they've gone on for so long. And this is why the banks didn't want this to happen, because there's clearly better options, right? And this is why they've not liked any of this about crypto. Crypto's come in. You've had things like DeFi, so you can get like, DeFi loans. You can get a loan without having to go to a bank and having to go with them. They're obviously losing out in money there. You can get yield, so you can stake your own cryptos. You can stake these stable coins and get a better yield than you could in any traditional bank. Now you've got these companies actually becoming banks as well, and they're going to have a way higher, better level of security for customers, protecting their assets and their money. Like, they're going to be a threat to them. They really are. They're going to lose custom. I'm not saying that they'll lose everyone, but they are going to lose custom. The big dogs who have been around for many years will be here, like the real big ones. But smaller banks, yeah, like they might be in trouble. They might have to really pivot a lot to try and survive all this. So going to be very interesting to see how things go. But this is absolutely huge, guys. So hope you guys are as excited as I am. And I'll be sure to keep you updated on any further information on this. Thank you very much for watching this. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. and hit that bell. Take care.